Perseverance Story Talk with Mama Strega. Welcome to another edition of Up and Knitted. I'm your host, Adrian Babishoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show's about, it's dedicated to creating a lifestyle design that is good for people and planet, exploring alternatives to the daily grind through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. Mama Strega, let's take it away.
Hola.
Perseverance. So, trying a little something different here. First of all, I'm going to face you. My thought, I just been tripping out lately on perseverance of like what you and I definitely, it's like we're bucking the system the way we're living.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of perseverance. I think there's no roadmaps, there's no manuals. So you kind of have to live and make things happen. And I think I've gone through a lot of struggles, and that's what I was thinking for myself with my fight against plastics and trying to get many other things of spirituality and everything. And I just figured I'd like to bring the theme today of perseverance and how life ain't easy, but when you keep pushing and working through stuff on yourself, you know, instead of pointing the finger out at the world and everything, focusing on yourself, your children, your relationships, your spirituality, your energy, your mindset, everything. Like, life is hard, man. But you keep pushing, and sooner or later you come to an apex or an opening, a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's kind of what I wanted to just bring up today.
Well, to me, priorities. Have priorities so you know what to persevere at.
Yeah.
What's your desired outcome in persevering at anything? I mean, one of the biggest ones to me is your physical health.
Yeah.
Learn about your health. Learn about anatomy, physiology, all that. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You got a body. Kind of cool to know how to live in one. Take care of your health, persevere at that little by little, and it pays off in the long run.
Without that, you ain't got nothing.
Truly.
Yeah, I say that a lot on the show. I think about that a lot. But I think it's not just your health, too. It's probably a lot, like you were saying, as far as talking stories, you've met some people who actually develop diseases and illnesses because of their mindset and the lack of happiness in their lives. I mean, you've seen a lot of some crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, the big part of it is what you're born into.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has an effect. Your race, if there's religion involved, education, financial status, poverty level or wealth or whatever, all these things affect you. So you come into these things and they become part of you, whatever you choose to adopt and however you choose to live through that filter, I call it. And as you get older, you start to realize, hopefully, that some of this stuff doesn't serve you well anymore.
Yeah.
Or you just don't share that viewpoint, you know, like, I mean, you got stories of, like, the Rockefellers where, you know, some of the wealthiest people in the world, the son took off and disappeared in the Amazon and they never heard from him again, you know? So, you know, when people are like, oh, yeah, you know, it sucks, man, I was born poor, that's why it is like it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. You know, it's up to you what you do with what you have.
What's your experience being on the road and like slabs and all that with some people who had to persevere and like, you know, that are just don't want to live in the system and had a hard life? And it seems like you said, these people just seem to make it. Somehow they seem to make it happen.
Beyond all odds. Well, I think the biggest part is they look at the alternative, which is go do the 9 to 5 and everything else, get the college education the parents require, you know, and hey, if that doesn't bring you happiness, it doesn't bring you happiness.
Yeah.
All the wishing and wanting in the world. So, I mean, that's what helps me too, is like, okay, this is tough, whatever I'm going through right now, but I look at the alternative, been there, done that.
Yeah.
The work, the 9 to 5 and pay the bills and have all the stuff, and went, nah. No, whatever I'm going through right now is worth it, and it's just for now.
Yeah.
Everything is temporary. Everything changes. So it, you know, I've seen people, like you were saying, you know, people who jump trains.
Yeah.
They go all across this country for free and jump trains, but that comes with a lot of problems and issues too. But you know, when just being out there on the road is just such a good feeling, the freedom of it, that I think that what you would trade, even if you've got to die doing it, the attitudes, I'd rather die happy than live to be 90 years old or 80 years old and retire supposedly the way the government system and all of this is put together. They look at their grandparents or parents and they're like, nah, No,
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
I always say that.
No.
I say that a lot. Is just look around you to the example. Like, is this what you actually want to aspire to? Is this
Right.
the life that you want to live? Is this not telling you something? Hello.
Yeah, it's like, I was teaching oil painting lessons,
Mhm.
landscape, and the majority of it was just a small class. I had maybe 8 or 10 students, and the majority of them were newly retired men and women
Yeah.
that had put off that whole concept of being creative. When I retire, then I'll have fun and be creative, and they were just so locked into the business mentality and everything, they didn't even know how to bust out and get creative.
Yeah. You become like a machine. That's kind
Yeah.
of what's been happening to
You
me.
just have to kill that
You
part
get
of you
programmed
almost.
and you're just on this like a railroad track. There's no veering off. This is what I got to do.
Yeah.
I could feel it in myself, and it scares the shit out of me. I'm like, man, I don't want to become a machine, but I see where it's applicable and I see where it's needed. It's like, this is what I need to do right now, which is really interesting about our lives, because you're going the opposite almost. Like, just fuck it. You're like turning in more and more every year, like a rubber tramp, and I'm like going, well, how the hell do I secure myself for my family, my daughter, and everything. And
Yeah.
so we have different ways of going, but I think we're bucking the system, and we're persevering towards something completely different than the norm.
Well, and again, in perseverance, I've known my entire life I wanted to do this at some point.
Yeah.
Didn't know how or what it was going to mean when I got there, but I persevered my entire life of teaching myself different languages and picking up as many skills anywhere as possible.
Mhm.
I even went to midwifing school. I've delivered babies. You never know where you're going to be, what's going to happen,
Yeah.
what condition the world is going to be in by the time you get there.
Yeah.
These kind of things. Perseverance, like, I think I was 18 when I read a book, How to Move in Your Body.
Mm-hmm.
And it was explaining that repetition, these repetitious moves we make, things we do, like just in house cleaning.
Yeah.
Bending down into a washing machine to put the clothes into the dryer every day. What's the smartest way to do that with the least impact on your back? All these different things, how to move in your body. And so I was like, no, train yourself. Stop and think about what you're doing before you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you sweep the floor, every time you unload something or load
Yep.
something, all these things. And by doing that, it was built in. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. So I'm 61 now. I'm still working construction and doing these different things, and I feel that's a big reason why is I persevered on pay attention to how you move in your body, how you live in your body.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I've always done it right,
Yeah.
but when I get back to it, I go, oh, that's right. It's easy for me to go back to it and go, hey, remember that part? Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So that perseverance has paid off.
Oh, yeah.
my gosh, has it paid off?
What was that? There was a documentary. It wasn't Happy People. That was the Russian. It was another one where they were showing like remember the women in China or Japan that lived real long, and they were making fun of each other and stuff. Yeah, she's the pretty one. I'm the ugly one or something. But there was the one in particular was the restaurant guy who was making hash browns and eggs and stuff. And he was like, there's a joy that I get through getting a rhythm, a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've said that about me too. I never really realized that when I'm working, I get like in this rhythm thing where I'm like flipping stuff around, and you
Having
just
fun.
get into like this dance. It's not almost necessarily even just fun. Like you exercise it so long. I guess it is fun, but I see it as, instead of, like you said, moving in intention with your body, and it's not even trying to do it with style. It's just like getting a flow, like a river flows over all the rocks and everything. Is like you effortlessly move with intention, almost without having to put your attention on it. I don't even know how to define that.
Well, what is your focus? Like, to me, there's a Zen life, no matter what you're doing, to be present
Mm-hmm.
with that Zen life, which definitely takes perseverance to learn. Pull yourself back from the total storm that's going on around you and be present with what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Whether it's making a sandwich or putting on a roof or being with your child or whatever, be present with yourself and your surroundings, and life is a lot more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're much better at it.
Yep.
This hurry, rush through, just get through this one to get to the next one, so you'd rush through that one, and on and on and on. With that kind of perseverance, you totally skim over any kind of joy or artistic attitude about life.
Yeah.
Like right now, my life's pretty silly, like it's just kind of chaotic and everything. So in the middle of all the madness, trying to figure it all out, I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to learn how to play the spoons. and I found this really nice pair of spoons in the trash that are really heavy duty, and got on the YouTube video, and so I'm teaching myself how to play spoons. I'm like, that's a cool traveling thing to do, you know, because 2 spoons, you can also eat with them.
Yeah. Stacking functions.
Yeah, exactly. You use them like drumsticks. But I'm saying to persevere in the attitude of continually adding something creative, artistic to your life in, you know, not to say it's going to all be that way, but when you mix it up, for me, I find that balance is really important.
You've persevered through some crazy hard shit. Our life in Uruguay, and
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to ask you personal questions, but what advice could you give somebody through like some of the stuff that you've experienced in your life where it feels like this is never going to end? Like, oh my God, how the hell do you get through some of these hard things?
Well, one of my major things is I think about my forefathers, people that came from Russia, and the stories about what they went through.
We ain't got shit.
Exactly. when I read about people who came on the Oregon Trail, out, you know, just people that are going through war-torn situations right now in the world, I think about all that stuff and I go, you're fine.
First world problems.
Right. Yeah.
I like to say, it's like what Chuck told me. He goes, we can fix this.
Yeah.
You're being a little bitch right now. This fixable.
Yeah.
Being in the middle of the desert with your camel looking to nibble your leg off because it's thirsty and there's no water in sight, that's a problem.
Right.
This is a fixable problem.
Well, and most things are self-imposed. Recognizing, taking on self-responsibility for what you're experiencing allows you the freedom to take on the responsibility of how to get out of it or change it.
Accountability?
Yeah, right.
What a concept.
Yeah. One that's definitely not, I feel, not a popular one. It's so much easier to blame someone or something else.
Well, I'd like to say that some of the horrible stuff is like, when you're in it, it feels like it's never going to go. But unfortunately, as in the words of Arthur Rimbaud, is the only unbearable thing on this planet is that nothing is unbearable. And those things pass with time, I think. And I think it is, though, like you're saying, taking accountability for your emotions and the feelings that it has. Is yes, it's okay to cry and be sad and depressed and everything. But as you coined, just don't stay there. Don't live there forever.
Yeah.
But go ahead and experience it and know that this too will pass in time.
Well, in a way, that's self-responsibility of giving yourself permission to be human. Feel what it feels like to just be human. And that it's okay to be where you're at, and like everything ebbs and flows, you know, and grief and those kind of things, anger will run their course. They can't go on forever. So whatever you're experiencing right now, at some point, somehow, you'll either cry yourself to sleep or other things, you know, to avoid it. But the storm's gonna hit at some point, and the more you hold back and try to pretend like it's not, the more severe it will be. You know, so it's like, just roll with it. It's just life.
It's like my analogy on the loud people. I kind of like people who are kind of loud. You know, it's a teapot. It goes psh, psh. It has to let out some steam every once in a while. It's those quiet ones that say everything's okay. They're always smiling. They always look happy. Those are the ones when something happens, they're going to grab a baseball bat and it's like, everybody run.
Yeah, they're going to snap.
Yeah, they're going to snap and they ain't going to stop. Like, Grandma just had enough of shit. She threw her wig across the room, ripped off her dress. She's got a flamethrower and she's going to go making some marshmallows. Wait, am I talking about you in 10 years?
Does this mean we don't get cookies, Grandma?
I didn't know I was psychic.
What do you mean in 10 years this afternoon?
If we don't get a cold one in us.
Yeah, and that is, you know, a way to persevere is like, okay, I know myself.
Yeah.
I know when I've done, you know, I'm at the end of a day and I'm done with that day, that I give myself permission to have that drink or two, you know, some whiskey and water or whatever I got going, and just sip on it and just like, let's just mellow this out a little bit so we can figure out the day for tomorrow.
That's been a topic besides perseverance on my mind, is what you just said, giving yourself allowance. I think that's one of the biggest things. I don't know if you want to extrapolate on that, is I think the dialogue that goes within us as individuals is definitely that. When it really comes down to it, yes, there's lots of restrictions. You got to pay taxes. You got to go to work. You got to do your 9 to 5 and all. But I think the thing that's restricting you the most is yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think you got to give yourself, allow yourself to be able to, as we just said, to moan or mourn, or even on the flip side, be happy and do something. Like in the end of all of it, it's really all up to you.
Yeah.
It's like wrestling, or surfing. Like surfing, there's nobody can show you how to ride a board and which board is right and how to not drown.
Yeah.
You think if you go down under a big wave, there's somebody there to save? There ain't shit. It all comes down to you. How are you going to surf the wave of yourself, of society, of imagination and spirituality is all. I like that. Up to you.
Well, and you can't do any of that unless you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's an interesting thing living in this day and age where everybody's, on their cell phones or some sort of social media, but it's a known fact. You play a game or you get likes on Facebook, releases dopamine, makes you feel good. Well, so does dancing in the gas station or the grocery store, or complimenting someone or getting a smile. These all raise your dopamine levels. So I'm not saying do or don't do whatever your choice is, but recognize what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think it's easy to ignore yourself and your personal growth by being locked into all the drama and trauma and social media and everything else and ignore yourself. But to get to know yourself, that's a challenge.
Well, how would you say, because what I'm experiencing is a lot of shit that you and I talk about, I take for granted. It's like, it's easy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, and I think they would want to know, okay, Strega and Adrian, how the hell do I allow myself to do something? Like, what's the steps? Like, people need actually baby steps sometimes. I mean, I don't even know if they even understand the concept first of like, what do you mean allow myself? First of all, I'm like, do some creative visualization or do some processing and sit there with yourself and ask yourself questions. What would someone need in order to believe blank? And find out who is the gatekeeper, first of all. But how would an individual give themselves allowance, in your opinion, to do something or feel something? How could they change their lives by allowing themselves?
I think it starts with recognizing responses. Like the saying, you can't change a situation maybe, but you can change how you respond to the situation. So I've found through life that, a lot of inappropriate response in my life, anger, hatred, all these things, as an inappropriate response. And sometimes, usually when I'm driving. Yeah. But I think it's paying attention to anything right before you do something, or when you're feeling something, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? And then you can start maybe noticing patterns, like every time a certain thing happens, you respond that way. Yeah. And go ahead and respond that way. But notice you're responding that way, and it gives you a different viewpoint as you're entering into that response. And that could be as severe as drug addiction or alcoholism or an abusive personality. Depression. All of it is like, notice, pay attention to that, and you might find yourself understanding yourself, your core self, a little better. Like maybe abuse in your past or whatever, something that triggered it, and going back to where you began that response. And the cool thing about that I love is when you start paying attention and you start choosing your responses after that, you start noticing, oh no, you know what, no, like when I'm driving, I try to do that. Someone will cut me off or do something, and I try to like, nope, I'm not going to get angry, and just thank you for giving me that lesson to allow me the moment to get a hold of myself. And then I flip it over to just be happy, feel happy. When's the last time you saw something that made you laugh or giggle or was beautiful or whatever? Like this morning I was looking on Facebook, and a friend posted this gorgeous picture, which is now one of my mental postcards, of these beautiful black ponies on an island in this gorgeous aqua water, and they were playing in the water, and then they all got together as a herd and just ran, and I just pictured myself running with them. I'm like, new mental postcard. That's a new happy
creative
spot.
Visualization.
When stuff happens, it's like, picture yourself running with the ponies on the beach, and it's all beautiful, sun is out. I know that might sound hokey to a lot of people, but whatever. It works for me.
My idea is to go spend time alone, a lot of it, and for a long period of time. I think like me going on my mini retirement vacations is like, it's the first 5-7 days where it takes you to decompress and actually forget that you got to work or you got to clean a house or do something. And I think for my own philosophy is that it would take a couple of days. I think it would be wise for people to shut themselves off from everything and just sit there with your own mind and your own thoughts and everything, and relax. You don't have to beat yourself up, but just kind of relax, and then start to get to know yourself, start that dialogue. And I think that's what's missing, is the communication as far as how do you allow yourself, Well, first you got to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have the dialogue. And besides, communication is one of the most horribly done art forms on the planet.
Yeah.
It starts with ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think that would be my interpretation, is that you need to get that dialogue with yourself first, so that you can allow yourself to actually do something, feel happy, or do something.
That is, in a way, relative to response. Pay attention to your initial inner dialogue about whatever. But one of the things as a massage therapist I used to tell people is, try this. Go home, lock all the doors if you need to, take care of all bodily functions, hunger, bathroom, whatever. If you're comfortable with it, get naked and lie on the floor in the dark. Just lay there and breathe and tell yourself, I give myself permission to be human and feel what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then notice what comes up and just breathe with it and let it be okay.
Yeah.
I try to look for ways that, and at that time I was working in North Hollywood, so it's not even like there's a wilderness for people to go be alone in.
Let alone naked.
Yeah.
Unless you're us.
And, well.
It helps.
But, that's the dealio, is like, how can you, so many ways you could do this. Why I love living in nature is when you could just get out and go and be in the woods or whatever and have that alone time.
You know what this reminds me of? Jeff Bridges in The Fisher King.
Yeah.
And not Tony Robbins, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
They're naked, howling at the moon. Woo!
Mm-hmm. Gotta let yourself out every once in a while.
That was actually, I think that movie had a lot of points in what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so would you like to talk about what you're persevering towards in life? Like right now, and like for me, it's the system and everything. I'm looking to persevere into a whole. It seems like both of us are just we're like, the airplanes are getting gassed up. We're double checking the wings, make sure the tires got inflated. Make sure we have a beautiful stewardess, for me at least. And none of that damn crappy salty peanuts and stuff. I want some dehydrated fruit. I want some Mai Tais and stuff. And then we're getting ready to take off here.
Dehydrated fruit.
Where do you see yourself taking off and persevering towards?
Well,
you've been working a lot on stuff.
Oh yeah. So far, my favorite experience I've had out of doing what I'm doing, living the way I'm living, is the one-on-one time I've had with other people.
Yeah.
Specifically, my children, grandchildren, just awesome. Present with them, no concerns about whatever length of time this is going to take. Follow your instinct, dance in the kitchen, laugh, play, cry, whatever, So I like the feeling of continuing. That freedom allows me that. Like when I was in New Orleans, spent some time with homeless people, just sat down on the ground right next to them, leaning against the building, shared what I had with them, whatever, and just tell me your story. And they just look you right in the eyes.
Yeah. And
then they say, tell me your story.
Yeah.
And I was telling this beautiful elderly woman out there, just felt so bad for her being there. But I was telling them, well, yeah, it's getting down to the wire. I'm worried about gas money just to be able to get out of here. And she's like, oh my gosh, I would help you if I could.
Yeah.
And just blessings, So the perseverance for me is to continue to modify my life and simplify my financial needs, to continue just to grow, to learn as many things as possible. But more than anything is just to be free inside of myself, to experience whatever my life is at the time, to roll with things when someone's suffering, to be able to be present with them, not suffer with them, but be present with them for that moment so that they at least feel comforted.
Yeah.
And share happiness, smiles, and true joy whenever possible. And the only way I found I can do that is by keeping the stress level down and my life simple. So my perseverance would be on that. I mean, I used to think I wanted to persevere and see the world. Now I'm like, I might and I might not. The world is within me. Mm-hmm. So that's the world I'm interested in right now. Persevere on the shamanic journey for sure.
Yeah.
Life is magic, man. I mean, we are, as I always said, we're like redwood trees and potted in a teacup. Mm-hmm. We're so large and pretending we're so small. And the teacup is this physical existence and the world that we think everything begins and ends here in this material existence, when there's so much more out there, so much more to be experienced.
As far as how to go about doing that, getting the money and stuff like that, I think you just kind of let the chips fall where they may. It seems like you've been making it so far.
Yeah, I've got plans, but I also, again, in trusting the magic, things work out. Mm-hmm. I feel like it balances, like if your motive is, to go out and spread happiness and joy and to need very little and share what you do have, it just seems like it all flows to you.
Yeah.
What you need. I'm not saying, millions and this and that. I'm saying my needs are met. They flow to me and then they flow from me and they flow to me and they flow from me. And so I'm less concerned, but again, I'm by myself. I don't even have a house plant right now.
Yeah.
I have no animals for that reason, because I know my lifestyle is very vagabond, so it doesn't allow for me to do that. It's too difficult. It'd be too hard on that animal, and it'd be too hard for me because I bounce to different people's places, couch surfing and this and that, and they're not always open to having an animal.
What about a pet rock?
Shh, tell them about that. God, you blow all my secrets.
Wilson!
Well, I got pet spoons now.
Yeah.
Twins. How about yourself? What are you persevering towards?
Saving the goddamn planet.
Of course.
My burlap garden, changing the way we eat, food production for me, and I hope to make a living doing it. I'm on fire, man. I could see, as far as perseverance goes, I've from wicking beds to aquaponics to permaculture, natural farming, everything's led me up to this point where I've persevered. And as I told you earlier, I got really depressed because I was like, there's nothing I can do about plastic. It's here to stay. You have to use it. It's a fact. You have to. And now I figured a way out of it. And through my perseverance, I think it's not even what I created. It's the fact that I fucking went against it and I won.
Yeah.
I made something happen. It's not just, like I said, the physical goods. I'm looking at that going, whatever other problems I have, if I work hard enough at it, I may possibly beat those ones out too. I may figure a way and create a way around everything.
Well, I think about this when I talk about the magic, is that you're not alone. Nature is on your side. Again, we think of nature, nature, planet. How magnificent is it that a mushroom showed up that biodegrades plastic? You didn't make that. I didn't make that. Science didn't make that. Nature, we are nature. We are all of it. But, having that confidence, that faith, that trust in yourself and in the world around you. And yes, it's difficult to find your way around, but it's like I was so excited to see they're growing hemp in Fallbrook.
Yeah.
So excited to see, your burlap gardening, like people are doing things, actually doing things, making these moves in a different way. So you kind of have to find that joy in you and understand there is a balance.
Yep.
If you watch, typical news and everything else, it's going to tell you there isn't. It's going to tell you, oh man, it's all going to, hell in a handbasket.
I think it also is the people around you though too. That's what I've learned. I'd say definitely is like the people who don't want to persevere. You need to just go not persevere over there.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired of it. I have patience and I have love and gratitude and things for people, but I do not have it for people doing nothing. And I think that we need more positivity, and it's very hard to persevere. What you're doing, what I'm doing is we pretty much are all individually alone, but you and I more than most people, because we're not following the regular patterns of what you're supposed to do. We're giving the finger to everything and going, we're going to, like you said, invent everything, not reinvent, invent everything. And that takes some balls and takes some guts, and it takes some perseverance.
Yeah.
And I think with me, by not listening and not focusing on the negativity out there and having these negative nannies, peoples with me, I'm able to exist in my mind and persevere into whatever it is that I want and to keep going. And that's what I want, is I want the freedom. And I'm also excited for individuals who are also like yourself, where we actually see each other, like you and I talk and actually look at each other and listen instead of waiting for your goddamn time to speak.
Yeah.
That's the other one that's bothering me really bad. And I think, as we said, communication with yourself and communication with others. It gets lonely. I got like 20 characters inside my brain. We all talk.
Only 20.
5 of us are talking right now.
Only 20. It's a good day. Everybody else went to the park or what?
But I love when my parasites, my internal intestinal parasites, and my alter people,
Yeah.
Everybody gets to all meet yours, and we all have there's like 50 people in this room right now, I'd say.
Easy.
10 of those are Hazels.
Yeah.
Easy, yeah. This room's filled.
Full to capacity.
You think I'm even looking at you right now? It's not me looking at you.
I think that's not only peripherally. Looking at all your other personalities.
I'm looking at the camera right now.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at you.
You're Marty Feldmaning it, you know?
Well, I think that's oh yeah, we just hit 30 minutes, so
Woo! That's the raw part.
that's the end of the show.
Raw.
Raw.
Rah, rah, rah. Bye.
If you like this sort of thing, check us out on Facebook, check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and all the other areas. And as I always say, don't lose your muchness. Human up. Live it, love it, own it,
Oh, look, I can squeeze my own head.
bone it.